giving you precise instructions of what's needed to go to Vietnam that you're not going to be able to get from the Bureau of Immigration, the people who sell you the ticket, the people at the vaccination centers that vaccinate you, the ticket counter at the airline from your point of origin on your way to Vietnam. No one, I assure you that there is no one in that group of people I just mentioned that knows all of the requirements to go back and forth from the Philippines to Vietnam. There are probably 10 documents that you need that no one is aware of. And then when they do see a document that is a legal document that will allow you to move, let's say, from Vietnam back to the Philippines, aka what is called an entry-exit visa, which I will explain in great detail in a few minutes, they will tell you that your entry visa is not the travel document that you need to exit Vietnam, when in fact it is the document. At the counter, after I bought the ticket, whilst I was online to get on the plane, to get my boarding pass, they stopped me and said I will not be able to go on the plane unless I show them an exit clearance. This is beyond absurd. It's beyond absurd that there is no document, there is no paperwork, there is no sheet of instructions on how to leave the Philippines, go to Vietnam, and come back in a smooth manner, especially if you don't have what is called the booster vaccination. That is what caused a large percentage of the problems that I had that delayed my 4.5 to 5 day vacation to a 14-day nightmare in Vietnam and Manila Airport, and spending probably upwards of 15 hours with supervisors of ticket vendors in the Vietnamese Airlines, Philippines Airlines, Cebu Pacific Airlines, and then the guides that help you at Cebu Pacific Airlines get your whatever problems that you have sorted out. I probably spent 15 hours with supervisors and managers, and each time we had to go to the highest echelon of a resource manager position, and each time they moved me to the next step because what I had was acceptable. But had I listened to them, I would be in Vietnam for another 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. So I'm going to go through this by the numbers on the community post that I posted. I'm going to go through this by the numbers and what prevented me from going to and from Vietnam in 5 days. And how many things could go wrong? Everything. I mean, every possible chain of events, which leads me to the second part of the title. A karmic chain of events prevented me from getting back to the Philippines for 14 days when I was supposed to be away for about 4.5 days. Even to the most minute, minuscule detail, I'm going to give you what occurred. And it's going to be like hard to believe. How many things can go wrong? Well, I will tell you, everything that could go wrong is going to be discussed in this video, none of which, and I'm not going to take credit for any of it, not one single iota of this information that I'm going to give you isn't exactly accurate and true, and not a single thing that prevented me for 10 days from getting back to the Philippines was my fault. Not a single thing. Now, you can believe this or not, but the story that I'm about to tell you is true. So I'm going to put my glasses on. Now, if you guys have a comment or a question that's not in order of what I'm talking about, or you want to know something that's not in order, what I suggest you do is throw some super chat on the board, and I will change my itinerary to answer your question. Other than that, it's your prerogative to leave or listen. But if you want me to change the order in which I go through these items, I suggest you throw some serious super chat up on the board, or just sit there and listen and wait for me to get to the part of my itinerary that covers your question. Moving on. The title has to do with instructions of how to get from the Philippines to Vietnam and back, and everything that you're going to need to get to and from the Philippines I'm going to discuss, but it's going to take 2 or 3 days to go through these items. And then we're going to call this a karmic chain of events, which led to one of the greatest uploads in YouTube history 2 days after I was supposed to have been back to go to court. 2 days later, one of the greatest videos ever to have been produced on YouTube was produced. One of the most educational videos that was ever produced on YouTube was produced on the day of Friday, the 26th. Had I been back in the Philippines, this is the part of karmic law, chain, cause of chain, cause, the karmic law of cause and effect. On Friday the 26th, one of the most historic uploads in YouTube history was created, revealing secrets that probably should not have been revealed, in my opinion. But of course, that's just my opinion. So, which in turn reflects on all of this particular uploader's friends and his family and his cohorts and his followers, his flock. Had I been in the Philippines on the 24th to go to court, none of what happened on Friday would have happened. So you can blame me for that as well. So moving on, that would be Friday the 26th. As I did everything right to leave the Philippines, everything, except, okay, what I did wrong was I believed the people who are in charge of the Bureau of Immigration. I believed the people that were in charge of the trays, TRAZE. I believed the ticket agents that sold me the tickets. I believed the girl at the ticket counter when I got on the plane to go to Manila. I believe those 4 people gave me accurate information, which led to a chain of events which cost me 10 days of my life and probably about close to $1,000 US. So let's go through this by the numbers. We'll start with, I got on the plane from Bohol to Manila feeling perfectly well. I had no fever, I had no aches or pains, I had no sick symptoms of being sick. None of those things that I have. None of those things that I have. I got on the plane feeling perfectly healthy. 3 hours later, on the plane, I was near death with a fever, not the runs, not a headache, but a fever, shortness of breath, and dizzy, to the point where I was barely able to walk off the aircraft. However, prior to getting on the airplane, I felt perfectly well. So I'm at the airport in Bohol, feeling fine. And when I get off the airplane in Bohol, I have a connecting flight. My Bohol airline ticket brought me to Manila. Several hours later, I have a connecting flight from Manila to Vietnam. I go to the ticket office and they ask me for my TRAZE, T-R-A-Z-E pass. So I brought that up. I brought up, there's a capture. I brought up the capture for the TRAZE pass. And they said, we need to see the information on the TRAZE pass. Well, why? The TRAZE pass is given to you after you give them all of your personal information. You can't have a TRAZE pass without giving them your passport number and your personal information, email address, phone number, and name, date of birth. Can't get it without giving that information. It has to be verified and accurate. So I open up my TRAZE page. My name is gone from the page. My email address is gone from the page. My phone number is gone from the page. My date of birth is gone from the page. So the woman in Phang Lao airport says, sir, you can't get on the plane. Excuse me, the woman in Phang Lao says you can't get on the plane without your TRAZE pass. So, but here's the capture. Yes, sir, but that we have to see the information on the page. And I said, well, you can't get the TRAZE pass without having a vaccination card, because it asks you when you were vaccinated and if you had the booster. You can't get the pass without filling out the information. So I said, well, this is where it's supposed to be. So she said, well, we have to see the application complete. So I filled in my name, my email address, my phone number, my date of birth. I showed it to her on the screen, and something happened, and it went off the screen, and then I had to reload it. And when I reloaded it, the information was gone again. So she said, sir, we're not going to be able to. I said, I just showed it to you. She goes, you showed me the information that you inputted into the TRAZE pass. You didn't show me the TRAZE pass from the TRAZE website. I said, well, I entered the information and put down enter, and the information should have stayed there when the page refreshed. But it didn't. The information disappeared. So I did it again. Now I'm at the ticket agent. I'm at the office. I'm at the ticket agent window with the ticket agent. And behind the ticket agent, there's people listening to this. You know, that they were just interested in the conversation. I don't know why, but they were. So I put the information in again for a third time. 3 times I put the information in. And the woman says, sir, we're not going to be able to let you get on this flight until we see that information show up in your TRAZE dossier, whatever, document. Thanks, honey. What did you buy? What happened? Oh, really? Made in Vietnam, baby. I bought a purse and it broke? Yeah, you sew it up.
Yeah, of course.
Let me show them the purse. I bought this purse in Vietnam. How many was this? 925,000? No, 225,000 dong. 225,000 dong. She wore it once, It's got less than a kilo of stuff in it, and the strap broke. 225,000 dong, and the strap breaks the first time she goes to the store with nothing in the purse, basically just some change and her wallet. 225,000 dong. That was a lot of dong for something that didn't last an hour. Yeah? Oh my God. So with that, the executive officer behind the ticket agent in Bohol at the ticket agent said, "Sir, can I see your phone?" And I said, "Yes." So I had still on my page, I still had the information, but when she scanned the tray's captcha, the information was not there. So he said, input the information and then press enter again. And I did so. And then again, they refreshed their page and the tray's captcha showed up, but not my name or phone number or email or date of birth. So that person was standing behind the ticket agent. Then there was a man behind that agent, and he said, "Let me see." He also asked me for my phone, and he said, "Put the information in again." Now I'm there. We're there half an hour at this point. So I put the information in the trays again. He looked at it. He said, "Put the information in and press enter." I did. And then he did something on a computer. I don't know what he did because he was on the other side of the ticket agent. And he said, "Let him go. There's a problem with the website." So the trays is the captcha that proves that you're vaccinated and that your information is correct. And no matter how many times you input it into their website, it disappeared. So the third person up, or the supervisor, allowed me to go through to get on the plane. Had he not been there, or had somebody not been there in charge, I would not have been able to get on the plane. And of course, I would have missed my flight. Again, for the fifth 5 flights I missed altogether before I'm done with this. So I get on the flight. I feel perfectly fine. I'm in Bohol, feel fine. I get on the flight. By the time that flight got to Manila, I had a fever where water was just pouring off my head, like that movie Airplane, where the sweat was just dripping down into my eyes. I was dizzy. I had shortness of breath, and I could only walk about 150 feet before I had to sit down and rest in Manila. So now I'm in Manila, and I'm sick. I am sick. In 3 hours, I got sick as if it took a week to get this sick. So my flight is for 10:30 at night in Manila. And I go to the ticket agent at like 8 o'clock. There's a girl at the ticket agent, Cebu Pacific ticket agent, and I hand her my ticket to go to Vietnam. And she says to me, "Sir, do you have a Vietnam visa, entry visa?" And I said, "Well, no, ma'am. I'm just barely able to stand up. I mean, I can't stand up. I had to sit down on the where they put the baggage." And she said, "So you're going to need that to get on the plane." And I said, "Well, okay. So how do I get that? Because I'm not going to. There's no point in trying to work around it. How do I get that?" "So you'll have to fill out an online application." So I can barely use my phone. I don't know much about these cell phones and how to do this online application and stuff like that. So I said, "Okay, but can one of you assist me with this? Because it's reasonable. If they know how to do it, they can assist you. That's their job, to assist people to get on the plane. And not one, but two of the girls walked out from behind the counter, and we, three, plus a manager in the background, spent 2 hours and 15 minutes filling out the visa application. And all this time, everybody in Cebu Pacific was assisting these two girls fill out the information so that I could get this visa application as soon as possible. So, in regards to the expertise and helpfulness of the Cebu Pacific Airlines personnel, they were 100% helpful. They were more than that. They came out from behind the counter and worked with me for 2 hours and 15 minutes because of other complications that arose in the application itself. So, after, this is 8 o'clock. At this time, it's after 10 o'clock. The flight leaves at 10:30. At this time, the super manager that was paying attention to this whole thing and giving the girls advice how to work through some of the visa application questions to bypass. We were trying to bypass the visa or expedite the visa. They were trying. I didn't even know what they were doing. They had my phone and they were pushing stuff back and forth. So the main supervisor for Cebu Pacific says that it could take an hour, or it could take a minimum of 3 days before this application is accepted. Now, to get the application, you give them your credit card number, and they take $25 from your credit card for the application. So the main supervisor, due to something he put into the application, he put the information in. Cebu Pacific personnel supervisory position put information into the application to expedite the application. They were trying to get me on the next available flight. But he said to me, you could take you 1 hour, or could take a minimum of 3 days before you can request to expedite the form, the visa, exit visa. Now, it's not just an exit visa, and this is important. It's an exit entry visa. It's two things, but it says exit visa on the actual visa that you receive from Vietnam, but in the long drawn out words that are on it, it says somewhere entry exit visa in small print, not at the top of the page. So he said to me, I would suggest you wait here and we may get a reply immediately, because these people work 24/7 because people from all over the world are applying for these things. He says, I'd suggest you wait here at the airport. You may get an answer in an hour or a few hours, and then you could get on the flight in the morning. So I stayed there in Manila you're allowed to sleep in the Manila airport. Hundreds of people. You'll see videos where there are probably 500 people sleeping on the floor. People bring blankets, sleeping bags, pillows, air cushions, air mattresses. They bring all kinds of stuff because they know they're going to sleep in the Manila airport for the day or maybe a few days. Some people were there 2 or 3 days. Okay, so I wait there all night. And now I'm so sick that I have to sleep near the bathroom, because in case I'm going to have the runs, because I didn't have the runs, just want you to be aware of that. It never happened. In case I'm going to get the runs, I want to be secure that I'm going to be close to the bathroom. So I slept about 25 feet away from the bathroom door, on the floor next to about 50 other people. Well, the visa application was not accepted. So I went back to the counter in the morning, and those same people were still at the counter. And the man says, well, sir, it's now Vietnam time. Their offices are definitely open. I suggest you wait here for the rest of the day, and maybe you'll get your application filled out. So I waited there, and that didn't happen. So that night, I go to get a cab. I'm going to get a hotel now. I'm tired. I want to take a bath and shower. So I get to a cab, and the cab driver, to the guy, I says, I want to go to the Vietnam War Weapons Museum. And he says to me, cab is $10, which is 200,000 dong, 225,000 dong. And he goes, and the hotel will be $15. So I said, okay, you bring me there. Because I knew it was about 8 kilometers away. So I said, you know what? There's something shady about this guy. Let me check this out. So I look at my clock, and from the time I got in the cab to the time I was in front of the hotel was a minute and a half. He went across the highway, went down a street, brings me to a hotel. And he yells at the lady in the hotel. And I get out and go up there and ask her how much. I had already got dong. Dong is the Vietnamese currency. And I said, how many dong? They don't speak any English. They don't speak even a word. The cab driver didn't speak a word of English, but his conductor, the guy who sets up the cabs for people, the guy who screws you at the airport, that guy, and he talks English, but he tells you he's going to bring you to the Vietnam War Memorial, but he actually brings you across the highway 90 seconds. That guy, he spoke English. So I said to the lady, how many dong? And she shows me a chart, and the chart has a 200,000 dong hotel room, that's $10. A 300,000 dong hotel room, that's $15. A 400,000 dong hotel room, that's $20. 600 and 850,000 dong, which is now we're up to $45, $50 for the big room. So I says, I will take the 200,000 dong. She shakes her head because they don't speak English in Vietnam. No English at all. Nothing. They don't try to speak English. It's not their language. Just get used to that if you go there. So she points to the 850,000 dong room, which is now $45. I don't want a $45 room. I want a $20 room. So the cab driver takes me to the next hotel. And he yells at the manager. And they have 20, 30, 50, 80,000 dong rooms. And they only have an 80,000 dong room, $40 room. I don't want that. I want this one. And she puts the numbers on the thing. So I tell the guy to bring me to another hotel. Because he already got paid. I don't even know why I know why he's sticking around, because he's going to get half the money, everything up from $20. He's going to put that in his pocket. He's going to get a percentage of, when he's screwing me for the cost of the hotel room, he's going to get half that money from the hotel manager. So 3 hotels, same thing. Third hotel, same thing. They only have 800,000 dong rooms, $40. So we go to the 4th place. I put my hand on his shoulder very lightly. I said, you stay here in the cab. You stay in the cab. Stay here. Don't open the door. He don't open the door. I said, you stay here. Stay. Stay here. He stayed in the cab. I walk outside, and they have, lo and behold, they had a 200,000 dong room, $10 room. 250,000 dong. Yeah, $15. A $15 room they had. So I take the room, and then he walks up to me and goes like this with his hand, as if he did me a favor. This guy was trying to screw me for the last 3 hotel rooms. So I shook his hand and said thank you, and that was it. He left. He knew what he was doing. That guy was yelling out, give him the most expensive room. So now I get into this room. It has no hot water, no internet. It's clean, very clean. Bed is clean. It's a firm bed. And I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning. I go back to the airport, and I spend the whole day in the airport waiting for my visa clearance from Vietnam. I'm in Manila now. And I don't get it. So that night, I spent in the airport again, hoping that it would come in the morning, because now we're into like 2 days. Didn't come in, though. So I'm in the airport sleeping. I'm still sick as a dog, by the way. I mean, I can only walk 100 feet. I can't walk 200 feet. I got to sit down at the bench every 100, 150 feet. I'd have the sweat is pouring off me. I'm sick as a dog. Not knowing how sick I was. I was so sick, I didn't know how sick I was. I didn't realize how sick I was. So that day goes by, and I get a room that night. Now we're into it for the third day. So on the third day, at 6 o'clock in the morning on the third day, I send the Vietnam Visa Application Office a letter stating that I have to be back on the 24th for a court date, and that I also am running out of medicine for a wound I have on my leg. Can you please expedite this visa? But before 72 hours were up, you couldn't get that expedite. Well, it was just about 72 hours. Well, actually, it was like 60 hours. And within an hour, I get a message back. Your entry-exit visa has been accepted. And that's on your phone. So you need an entry-exit visa. But it doesn't say that on the printout, except in small letters. It says entry visa on the printout, but not entry-exit. That's what I'm trying to tell you people. There's something, it's an entry-exit visa. Now, this is going to prevent you from leaving Vietnam. If you get a ticket agent that doesn't know it's an entry and exit visa, this is 3 days away from this mess. So now I get the entry-exit visa, and I missed my flight, by the way. So I have to buy a ticket. Again, another ticket. So I get a new ticket, $200. Because even though Cebu Pacific will adjust your ticket, that office at that time, when I was getting on the flight, was closed. So the Cebu Pacific personnel that can adjust your ticket, the office was closed. I was already to where it was after 5 o'clock. So I had to buy another ticket. That was $200. So I get into my flight. Now, I should have been in Vietnam 3 days ago. 3 days ago. I should have been in Vietnam 3 days ago. But I spent 3 days waiting for my entry-exit visa. No problem. I'm going to get on a flight in Manila. It's going to land at 1 o'clock in the morning. At 1:30, my flight from Manila my flight from Manila is going to land at 1 o'clock in the morning in Vietnam time, because there's an hour difference. At 1:30, my flight from Vietnam back to Manila, I can get off the plane, walk to departures, and get on the plane and go back to Manila, and I'm done. My Vietnam trip will be 1 hour. Except that when I get on the plane in Manila, sick, I'm so sick I can barely walk. In fact, you're going to see it in a video that I have. I told the supervisor, can I just sit in this chair? I can't walk. He goes, no, you have to leave where I was sitting down. I said, I can barely walk, dude. He goes, you're gonna have to leave. So I get up and walk back to where the people were. Why was I walking? I get on the plane in Manila. We all get on the plane in Manila. The plane is packed solid. And there's like, we're waiting for like 40 minutes on the plane, in the plane, at the gate. And all of a sudden you hear all kinds of noise and scuffling. And I look up the hallway and there was police, marshals, whatever there was in the airport, got on the plane to take somebody off the plane in a violent manner. And then the captain says to the passengers, we're sorry for the delay. Sorry for the delay. We're sitting in this chair for 40 minutes. We could have been halfway to Vietnam by now. I'm going to miss my flight in Vietnam. You're going to have to get off the plane. So we get off the plane, and then we had to wait a while in the terminal. So that's when I sat down on a chair halfway back to the terminal. I couldn't walk anymore. So when I'm getting off the plane, there's like 12, 18, 20 people, dogs, sniffing machines, people with rods sniffing around, and they all walk on the plane. Federal marshals with their badges and everything draped over them, no guns drawn, but, you know, they went back into the plane to look for some sort of, whatever. Whoever that guy was that they took off, they wouldn't tell us why they took the guy off the plane, but he was taken off the plane in a violent fashion. Okay, so now the plane is delayed. It's a 3-hour delay. We get back on the plane. Now I miss my flight. I go to Vietnam, and now I miss my flight. So I'm screwed in Vietnam. I get that. Now I got to go and find a hotel room. But at 4 o'clock in the morning, this was a disaster from the get-go. So I sleep at the airport. I don't want to go find a hotel room. And eventually I did, but this sets me back. So in the morning, I go to the ticket counter, and the ticket counter person says, sir, you just buy another ticket, you get on the flight, you go back tonight. So I said to the ticket agent, is there anything else that I need? No, sir, you just buy the ticket. So I buy the ticket at like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock 6 o'clock in the morning. I buy the ticket. I want to go back on the first flight back. 6 o'clock in the morning in Vietnam. And she says, no, sir, you just buy this ticket and you get on the plane. I buy the ticket. I pay. First of all, I need 7.4 million dong. I got to go to the ATM machine to get 7.4 million dong. So that was like $300, $350. So I go down to get the dong, and I come back up and I give her the dong. I said, nothing else that I need before I buy this? No, sir. I give her the money, the dong. I give her the dong, and she gives me the ticket. And I says, okay, what's next? She goes, did you get a PCR test? I said, no, it's not required. Oh, it's required now, sir. I'm sick. I know I'm not going to pass this test. So I go down. So I said, well, why didn't you tell me before? Sir, I thought you knew. Well, how do I know? You're the one selling me the tickets. How do I know I need a PCR? You should have told me I needed the PCR test first. I wouldn't have bought the ticket. Sir, you just go down and get the test. They don't care. So I go downstairs and I see these two men and I get a PCR test. I know I'm going to fail it. I'm sick as a dog. The sweat is pouring off of me. My nose is running. I have a fever, probably 102, 103 fever. And the fellow says, sir, you failed the test. I says, it's negative? He goes, yes. I said, that's good, right? He goes, no. It's positive. I said, you just said it was negative. Yes, but positive. You tested positive. That's the negative result. Okay, so they don't know English. So I said to the man, so what do you suggest I do? I suggest you have to self-quarantine at a hotel for 5 or 6 days. I said, do I need any kind of proof that I was in the hotel? No, sir. Here is your test result that you failed, that you tested positive. It has a date on it, the 20th. You come back on the 26th. You can test again. So I said, okay, thank you. There was no big deal. I was probably the only one that wasn't upset because I was sick. I was seriously sick. The other people that tested positive were not sick, and they were having verbal arguments with the dudes there, and I'm going, okay, thank you, and I leave. So now, about 3 days later, I go back to the airport. Now I'm supposed to be in the hotel or quarantine, but I had to go back to the airport because I had to change another flight, the flight that I missed going back from Manila to Cebu. I'm going to change that date to the 29th. This way I'm sure that I could, by then I should be better. I get into the airport is 900 feet long. It's 4 floors. The testing agent men were on the other side of the airport, on what would be considered the west side of the airport. I go to the east side of the airport. I get on an elevator. I push the button to get on the elevator. And who do I walk into at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when they should have been working at the testing center? Were those 2 dudes that told me to self-quarantine. And I walked right into them. They were like right there. They were walking out. I was walking in. I looked at them, put my head down like this. They looked at me. They put their head down like that, like we didn't see each other. And I get in the elevator. They get out. So I go to change my ticket. It's a Cebu Pacific ticket. So we only have Vietnamese and Philippines Airlines. We can't change your ticket. You have to buy a new ticket. I said, but I'm supposed to be able to get credit for this flight. No, sir. You'll have to do that in Manila. So I go back to the hotel. I got a new hotel at this time. For $20, I got breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the hotel. What a score that was. And the girl there, Nuns, she spoke English. She was world-class traveler. She was a sweetheart. So now I go to the Vietnam War Memorial Museum, War Weapons Museum. And now I'm still sick. And I go there, and there's a cab driver when I go into the museum. He goes, I bring you to the airport, because I had my backpack. I said, no, I'm not going to the airport. It's like noon. He goes, I bring you to the airport. I bring you there. I said, I don't want to go to the airport. I'm going in the museum. I wait here. Wait there all you want. It's going to be 2 or 3 hours before I'm done. This is 12 o'clock in the afternoon. At like 3:30, I'm done in the museum, which was very depressing. The Vietnam War Museum is extremely depressing. It's like, what the hell were we doing in Vietnam in the 1960s? What we there? We were there for no reason. We were fighting over the conquest of a jungle with no strategic value to America whatsoever. Whatever propaganda that you heard that Vietnam was a strategic foothold against American way of life, we have no business being there. And everything in that war museum, all the weapons, all the descriptive things that you'll see when I go through put the video up, just completely depressing. Did you know that in each prisoner of war camp, American prisoner of war camp, every prisoner of war camp, that the Americans, not the Vietnamese, not the Viet Cong, but the Americans in every prisoner of war camp by 1966, I think it was, I have it in the video, had a guillotine in the prisoner of war camps. And that's how they executed the Viet Cong, the North Vietnamese. Did you know that America used guillotines on prisoners of war? in the 1960s, tens of thousands of them were executed with the guillotine. And there was literally a real guillotine in the POW camp. And the blade, it gives you a description, you'll see it in my video, weighs 50 kilos, 100 pounds. I didn't know that. America doesn't publish that stuff, but the American war machine used the guillotine to kill prisoners of war. That's pretty sick. I gotta tell you, that's pretty sick. That was when, that is in an area of the Vietnamese War Weapons Museum called the Tiger Cages. And they showed the cages that they kept the prisoners of war in, the Viet Cong. They treated the prisoners of war, the Viet Cong, with no respect whatsoever. And, of course, probably in return, they were treated with no respect whatsoever. But this was the sickest thing you ever seen in your life. How they treated the prisoners, how they beat them, how they tortured them. And this was all okay back in the 1960s. And then eventually they decapitated them with the guillotine. The Americans decapitated the Viet Cong with guillotine, tens of thousands of them. I didn't know that. You never saw that on the news. I've been listening to stuff about Vietnam. No people that ever served in Vietnam ever talk about that. I'm the first person to ever mention it, as far as I know. That was sick. And then it went through how they treated them and for what? At the end of the day, 50 years later, what did America gain? Nothing. They played with weather manipulation equipment, and they all made billions and trillions of dollars on weapons manufacturing. Other than that, there was no reason for America to be in Vietnam. None whatsoever. There's no proof that we needed anything from Vietnam. We didn't need minerals. We didn't need gold. We didn't need gems. There's no oil there, so to speak. There's nothing in Vietnam other than they said this was a foothold for communist China. And at the end of the day, it was a jungle. At the end of the day now, 50 years later, it's a city and a jungle. But there's no strategic value because the next closest part is the Philippines, which is 1,000 miles away, which is still 5,000 miles away from America. So did we have to worry about this? No. There was no reason to be in Vietnam. None. I read all the stuff there. I've listened to this stuff for 50 years. I never really struck me, other than the fact that these people made billions and trillions of dollars, just like Dick Cheney did with the X-ray machines, that he bought the biggest X-ray machine company a few years before 9/11 because he knew that 9/11 was going to occur and that the whole world would need X-ray machines. And the Vice President of the United States of America bought an X-ray machine company. This entire concept, the war machine, is simply that. It's a war machine. And Vietnam was the first conflict. It wasn't even a war. It was the Vietnam conflict. We didn't win it. In fact, we lost 68.5 thousand American lives, and tens of thousands of Americans came back mentally and physically wounded without limbs or arms and legs. It was the whole thing. When you go to the War Museum and you see all these videos, and the whole thing is sick. Not much different than happened in Iraq. Not much different. We don't belong in Iraq either. We never did. We never gained anything from that. We're not going to change a culture. And all of this, that I spent 10 days in Vietnam and met hundreds of Vietnamese people. They are the meekest, kindest, gentlest people I've ever met. Every one of them is respectful, bowing down to you when you say hello to them. they offer you stuff for free when you buy foods in their restaurant. They give you a free dessert. If you buy 25,000 dong sandwiches, and you say, well, this is really good, give me 4 more, should be 100,000 dong. You give them 100,000 dong, and they give you back 20,000 dong, and they say thank you. They give you a discount, 20% discount, without you asking for anything. They give it to you. I didn't ask anybody for a discount, and yet every time I went back as a repeat customer to every restaurant that I ate in, they gave me something for free. And every person that I bought, when I paid them, they bow down with their head, thank you, in deep respect. I got lost the second day I was there. I was sick and I got disorientated when I went down the wrong street, and I was in a warehouse district, and there was 3 blocks that you go down, and all 3 blocks were dead ends. And I asked the woman, how do I get back to the airport? And they go like this, no English with their hand, no English. Airport. And I went like this. And she goes, you're a bird. I'm not a bird. I want to go to the airport. Fly. A bird, you're a bird. I was laughing. No, I want to go to the airport. So she goes, no English. So I'm dizzy. I had to sit down. I go to sit down again, and the guy walks up behind me with a beer in his hand. I see him walking up from behind me. He's walking really fast with the beer. He wants to give me something cold to drink. He thought I was going to pass out because I was dizzy and I had to sit down. And he hands me this cold beer. It's a new beer with, the top on. And I said, no, son, no, thank you. He goes, you drink. He could say the word drink. You drink. I said, no, thank you. He goes, airport, like that. And I'm going, yeah, airport. I take you to the airport. So he has a motorcycle. He goes and gets his motorcycle, and I get on the motorcycle, and the airport was about 3 miles away. I had walked really far because I got disorientated. I was walking in the wrong direction for miles. And I get to the airport, and I have dong in my hand. He's going, no dong, no dong. So I stand in front of the motorcycle, put my legs over the wheel of the motorcycle, and I try to hand them the dong. I'm trying to give him 50,000 dong, which would have been about $1, which would have been more than enough for the ride. But he don't want anything. He wants no dong. He don't want my dong at all. No dong. And I'm trying to put the money in his hand because that's what I had, 50,000 dong in that pocket. And he refuses to take my dong, and he backs the motorcycle out. He pushes me away like that, and he's smiling, and he leaves. These are truly a kind race of people. They're truly, genuinely kind people. And if that's the way they are today, that's how they got from their culture, from the previous history. We went into a country that we had no business being in, to a people that are a meek, gentle society, and we tried to disrupt their lifestyle. That's my take on Vietnam. We had no business being there. Not a single person, no matter what age I met in Vietnam, had any animosity towards me or Americans or anybody. They're the kindest, gentlest people that I've ever met across the board, everywhere I went. So that's my take on that. Now, so finally, I think there should be comments by now. Hey, Flat Earth, thank you. Daisy's outside, but thank you. Lewis, welcome back, brother. Hey, Lewis. Mrs. LTO. Good morning, sir, from Mrs. LTO. Scott Del Fuego. Listen, my friends, and you shall hear of a visa run that Michael feared. He knew it shouldn't last very long, but karma told him he was wrong. The comments just popped up. His plans were made, and that was great, but the workers had a hand and sealed his fate. They just don't know how to do their job. He ended up in Saigon for 2 more weeks of time he was robbed. It was a disaster. Thank you, Scott. It really seems that he was wronged. He was forced to give up half his dong. He got some heroes and ate some foods, but never did Fazio lower his moods. I never was upset, because none of this was anybody's fault. It has to do with bad training. Bad training. Louis Pagan-Ponce, karma. Oh boy, I witnessed karma 2 days ago, LOL. I always did admire Jay Leno's chin, but not like that, says Louis Pagan-Ponce. My God, that was a live stream that will go down in infamy. On the floor of the airport, he had his dreams. Then he found he was bound for the Philippines. He finally satisfied all the checks. You see, Michael Fazio cannot be hexed. Oh, I didn't even start with this visa run. I didn't even start with the problems that after I got all the paperwork done. I'll got to tell you, the next part of this story is going to be, you're not going to believe this. Louis Pagan-Ponce says, you're a true poet, Scott. He is. Scott has a way with words. He's the wordsmith of YouTube. LOL, hardly Louis Pagan-Ponce, but Michael's adventures have lots of possibilities. Brevis, I met Brevis. Hello, Brevis, nice to see you again. My uncle got shot in the Vietnam War, says Brevis. He has some great stories about the war. Vietnamese women were very friendly. One of my relatives went to Vietnam and fought there, and then brought a Vietnamese wife back. She was the sweetest lady. Her name was Kitty. And she was just the sweetest of all the aunts and uncles, and he eventually taught her English, and she just was the sweetest lady till she died. Louis Pagan-Ponce, no, I did not. I read a few articles where whistleblowers gave info to journalists. Okay, so I think he's talking about the guillotines. Louis Pagan-Ponce, no, I did not hear about the guillotines. I'll ad-lib. I read a few articles where whistleblowers gave info to journalists that the U.S. government had tens of thousands of guillotines in warehouse across the country. For what purpose? They have them now also. They have hydraulic guillotines. This was 10 years ago. They have them now. But we had them in Vietnam, and you never heard about it. I never heard about it. Scott Del Fuego. Back in Queens, pretty much every girl was trying to get Mike's dong any way possible. Then he tries to willingly give his dong to the cycle driver, and they won't take any dong. Not even a tip. Crazy. That guy was... They are the nicest, genuinely the nicest people, culture I've ever seen. I've never seen a culture nicer than the people in Vietnam. So now the 6 days goes by. At that point, I will tell you that the food in Vietnam is multitudes better than the food in the Philippines and America. The bread that the sandwiches come on is better than the Italian bread made in New York City, even though we have the great water in New York City to make bread and pastries and pizza. The bread in Vietnam is better. It has to do with the soil. And not only that, I drank the water directly out of the faucet and did not get sick. Now, maybe you would, but I was sick as a dog, and I drank the water anyway because I was so sick I didn't want to go out in the rain. And when I drank the water, I did not get the runs, and it didn't affect me in any negative way. So I just want to tell you, even in a hotel at the airport, I drank the water from the faucet when I was thirsty. I bought water, but when I ran out of water, I would just drink it out of the faucet. Nothing happened. The food there is better. The people there are nicer. And everywhere I went, whatever I bought in any restaurant, they offered me a free dessert or a glass of buku juice, coconut juice, or half of a glass of soda. Everywhere you went, every time you bought something, they offered you something free as a thank you for using their services. When I bought 4 sandwiches, instead of charging me 100,000 dong, 2 people on 2 occasions when I bought 4 sandwiches gave me 20% discount without me asking for it. These are genuinely honest, hardworking people. I stopped into a place where they were building pallets, and I opened up my videos and showed the guy me using a nail gun, and they all gathered around and watched the video and patted me on the back and shook my hand as, well, you're a working man. You know, no words were exchanged, but I showed them of me with the nail gun, and they were like, oh, he works for a living, you know, not some sissy that, you know, says that he worked for a living and has no proof that they've ever done anything. So, and then I showed them Michael Fazio's real job with deck building with the nail guns and stuff like that, and they were very interested, and they actually stopped working and gathered around and watched my video. It was fun. It was a great place to visit. Would I go back? No. The city of Saigon, aka Ho Chi Minh City, is just a big city of manufacturers. In fact, LG, the new air conditioning giant, was right across from the airport. I walked by that many times. Huge factory. I should have made a video of that, and I did not. But it's right across the street from the Ho Chi Minh Saigon airport. So now, 6 days goes by, and I go back to the airport at like, it was the afternoon. It was after 12, because I checked out of the hotel at exactly noontime. Oh, this is another example of how gracious and how wonderful these people are. When I checked into the hotel, Nung, she actually made a video of me trying to say her name. She thought it was funny. Nung, the girl who I asked out to dinner in the live stream, or for lunch, Nung, she's a world-class traveler. She lived in Australia for 4 years. She lived in Malaysia. She lived in Singapore. And she lived one other place whose name evades me. She spoke perfect English. She was married. Turned out she was married. I met her children later on, a few days later. Her and I had these long conversations about what New York City was like, about what Florida was like, because she had even been to New York. She had even been to New York. So apparently whoever she was living with at the time brought her to New York. She was a world-class traveler. So now I check into this room, and she says, we have 450,000 dong rooms, which is 25 bucks. Just say $25. So I go up to the room. It has 2 beds. So I come downstairs. The place is spotless, clean. Oh, God. There was 100 packages of soap, shampoo, body lotion, and clothes soap in the bathroom. 20 toothbrushes, packages of Q-tips, and combs. All free, all complimentary. So you could wash it, because they know you're going to wash your clothes. So they give you clothes soap. They know you're going to want body lotion, some people, not me, but shampoo. There was 50 packages of shampoo, 50 packages of clothes soap, 50 packages of body lotion, and 50 packages of soap, body soap. 200 packages of soap and body stuffs were there. Okay, so I go downstairs and I said to Nung, ma'am, I don't need 2 beds. Do you have a room with just a single bed? Yes, sir, next door. So I said, can I take that room? Yes. Because I had already seen the double bedroom. It was spotless. The place was immaculate. So I take the 20,000 dong room, which is 20 bucks. $20. It was 20. 400,000 dong. Excuse me. 400,000 dong is 20 bucks. One dong, 1 peso is 400 dong. 1,000 pesos is 400,000 dong. So I take the $20 room, and when I wake up in the morning, there's a basket on my doorknob, free breakfast. This is nice. Then there's a basket for lunch. Then there's a basket for dinner. Now they're giving me 75,000 dong baskets of food for free. That's 225,000 dong of free food for a 400,000 dong room. How are they making money? I don't know. But because I think what happened, because I had such pleasant conversations with Nung, the manager of the hotel, I think they just put down, you give him free food. Because maybe the more expensive rooms got free food. Maybe they all got free food. I never asked her. I did thank her for the food. So, I mean, these people, they want to give you stuff for using their services. Completely different than in the Philippines. You go to a hotel 3 times in the Philippines, on the 4th day they want to charge you more because we're friends. Completely different mindset. Here they want to give you something as a thank you to use their services. So, I'm done with my quarantine. Tiger Sugar, why don't you ship your stuff and live in Vietnam? Since you have an amazing experience, walk away from the Philippines since you experience only bad things. Hey, why don't you just get off my channel and mind your own business? Because what you are is a troll. Why don't you just disappear? Or maybe we'll have somebody make you disappear. Vietnam is a beautiful place, but it's not some place I'd want to visit. But the Vietnamese people are 100 times more business-like and friendly than the people any place else in the world that I ever experienced. So we don't need you here, Tiger Sugar, and you just got eliminated altogether from the equation. You want to troll somebody's channel? Go troll somebody else's channel. Now, Louis Pagan Pound says, really, Tiger? Why don't you rethink your question? So Louis Pagan Pound understands my point of view. I am trying to make you understand that the people of Vietnam are a giving, caring, nurturing, and kind and gentle people. Compared to the people in the Philippines, there is no comparison. When you become friends with someone in the Philippines, they expect you to give them more money for their services. In Vietnam, the people who you associate with, they want to give you something for using their services. 2 completely different mindsets. I could go through this with 1,000 examples of what I have given the people in the Philippines, and thousands, several, more than $4,000, $5,000 in my area, given out free stuff, free sauce, free cigarettes, free rum, free cookies, free candy, tens of thousands of pieces of candy to people all over the Philippines. Wherever I went, I gave out candy. I used to give no loads and no cash. That's out of the question. But people, for the fiesta, for New Year's, for Christmas, for Easter and Christmas, I gave out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of free stuff. And you know what I've received back in the Philippines for the $4,000 or $5,000 of free stuff that I gave out to the locals, not to people I don't know? Nothing have I ever received back. Nothing. No one ever gave me a tricycle ride for free. No one ever gave me a hobble ride for free. When Cyclone Odette hit, I went out and bought a generator, who the Bantayan Brawler a week later paid for the generator after I made electric outlets, 45 electric outlets for the people here. After I made 45 electric outlets at my cost to go out and buy the wire and the outlets, and $220 for the generator. And then bought the gasoline and put it in and gave out 45 free outlets for every single person in the entire community that wanted free charging for their gadgets, for their lights, batteries for their boat, batteries for their car, batteries for their gadgets for their house, fans. I gave out thousands of free charges that 7-Eleven was charging 30 pesos for one gadget. I gave out thousands of free charges to motorcycle, hobble drivers, to people were coming from all over Panglao, all over Dolho, all over Panglao to come to my house to charge their gadgets, sometimes 75 plus gadgets in front of my house. Motorcycle drivers, tricycle drivers, locals. There were girls that were coming with 30 and 40 gadgets that they were charging people to take their gadgets to my house to charge them up, and I wasn't charging them. I was giving away chargers for free. Not one peso did I charge anybody ever for 34 days. Not one peso. And you know what I got back in return for that? Not a single motorcycle ride from anybody who charged their phone or their fans or their gadgets at my house that owned a motorcycle or a tricycle. Not a single motorcycle or tricycle ride. The man next door would bring over 12 or 13 gadgets. He owns a sari store. After Cyclone Odette, I wanted a bag of potato chips, and I went next door, and I said, let me have a bag of potato chips, and he said 30 pesos. And I said to him, wait. I gave you electric for 34 days for your gadgets. Yes, but you are rich, 30 pesos. Put the bag back on the counter. I said, goodbye, thank you. Next time there's a blackout, nobody gets free electric. Okay, he didn't care. I gave this man brought over 12, 8, 6, 10 gadgets a day. Every day he was bringing 8 or 10 or 12 gadgets, 2 or 3 fans, the lighting for his outside lights at night, the lighting for his house, his 3 cell phones that he had, and anything else that he wanted charged. For 34 days, I gave him free electric charging. And I wanted 1 bag of potato chips for 30 pesos, and I said, do you give me the bag of potato chips? I gave you free electric. No, you are rich, you pay. I have talked to him one time I have talked to him for less than 30 seconds since Cyclone Odette. And what did I talk to him about? He said to me, Michael, we miss you here. I said, let me tell you something. You don't miss me. You miss my pesos. Because I've never bought anything in his store again, and I never will. So no matter what you give these people here in the Philippines, you get nothing back in return. Don't ever expect anything as a thank you for your generosity to the people. They only want more. Yesterday I went to a party, and one of the men said, you buy pan for my children. So I did, and I gave them some pesos to go buy bread. Does this man need pesos from me? No, he's been working every day for the last 4 months right next door. He had thousands of pesos in his wallet, but he wanted something from me, because that's just the way they are. You are a foreigner. You have to give. You give, I take. That's their motto here in the Philippines. In Vietnam, it's you give and I give you back. So this guy who makes this weird comment, why don't I move to Vietnam? There's nothing in Vietnam that I want to see. But I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to lie about the people in the Philippines. I'm not going to say these are give and take people. They're not. The culture that where I live is you give to me and I take from you. That's the culture. It's just the way it is here in the Philippines. If I had $10 for every time someone said you're rich, you give, I would be rich. These people truly believe that because you're a foreigner, you should give them something for free. It's a crazy place to live. Now, eventually they stopped asking me, but I gave out between $4,000 and $5,000 worth of free stuff in my local area, within 100 feet of this house, to everybody in the Peroque next door to me, where they sit down. I used to give out for the fiesta normally 30, 40 kilos of sauce, 30 or 40 packs of cigarettes, 20 to 30 bottles of rum, hundreds, thousands of pieces of candy to the locals on a monthly basis, thousands of pieces of candy to anybody who wanted candy. They would just walk up to me and say, you have candy. And if I had bags of candy, I would give them candy. It was just something that I did. And never once, ever, did I ever get a free motorcycle ride or a tricycle ride, ever. And then, on top of that, after you use somebody to go to the store 2 or 3 times at 25 pesos to the trip to the store, and the third time you go, it's 40 pesos. Why 40 pesos? The other day it was 25 pesos. Yes, sir. But you're rich, you give. You give. No, I give you 25 pesos. No, they walk away. They take their motorcycle or their tricycle, they go away. They want something for free. They want something for free. They want it because you have more money than they do, and they think that they deserve that you give them free stuff. That's what they want here. In Vietnam, the culture is different. So this guy saying, why don't I move to Vietnam? No, all you have to do is learn how to adjust yourself to not give people stuff for free. You don't have an obligation to give people free stuff. It's not your obligation. It's what happens to you when you become friends with the people in the culture. They expect you to give them stuff for free. So until you learn how to say no, you give. But once you realize that nothing is ever going to come back from it, if you feel that you should be compensated in some small fashion, a guy that brought 10 or 12 gadgets over a day, that's 300, 400 pesos a day in free charging. I asked him for 1 bag of potato chips after 34 days of him charging 300, 400 gadgets. 1 30 peso bag of potato chips that might have cost him 15 pesos, and that was too much for him to give back in return? Really? Okay, now you get nothing. And that's the way it is. And I told him, I said, no, I will not buy anything from you anymore. You missed me? No, you missed my money, but no more money from you. Okay, they don't care. They don't care. But in Vietnam, it was different. So don't tell me that maybe I should pack up. I'll stay here and do it my way. Because now that I know the culture and I'm explaining to you what the culture is like here, then you should either understand it to be true or don't worry about it. Go someplace else. Go troll somebody else's channel. Don't come to my channel and tell me what I should do. You're not my boss. You're not my mother. You're not paying me any money, and you're not trolling my channel. You think you are, but you're not. Tiger Sugar. Go fly a kite. I think the people in Vietnam were the most wonderful people in the world, but there's nothing for me in Saigon City. Flat Earth Society says, I remember that, Michael. Your neighbors used your electric and they were very unappreciative. Nobody ever, not a single tricycle or motorcycle ride that I get after 34. You know, let me tell you something, Flat Earth Society. This is a fact. I'm giving a guy, I'm not going to say his name. Well, I'll say his name was Junior. Junior brings 2 or 3 cell phones a day and a full-size car battery and his own battery charger to plug into my electric. And he uses the car battery for a light on his boat at night that he catches fish to make a living. So in theory, I'm charging his boat battery so he can have a light at night to catch fish to make a living. Okay? And I'm not charging him any money. What would it cost you to go to the store and have your battery charged? $20? $30? Here it may be $5 or $4. I don't know. I don't have a car battery to charge. But they're going to charge you money to charge your car battery. So every day I'm giving him the charge for a car battery and 3 or 4 gadgets. Every day for free. So I said to him, you take me to get gasoline for the generator that's charging your battery. And I give him the money, and he goes, you give me 40 pesos to go to the gas station and come back. The gas station is 3 or 4 minutes away. So I'm giving him free battery charges, free gadget charges, and he still charged me 40 pesos to go to the gas station to get the gas to charge his battery. This is how it works here. This is just how it is here. That's crazy. If he had to bring his battery somewhere, to charge a cell phone was 30 pesos. To charge a car battery might be $3 or $4 or $5 a day. I'm giving that to him for free. He's still charging me to go get gas to charge his battery. It's crazy. That's how it is here. And until you get used to it, you're not going to get used to it. So since Odette, nothing. Not a piece of candy. Yesterday, I bought the children bread from a man who's been working every day next door on a project for 3 months. Every day he works, every day, 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. He pulled out thousands of pesos out of his pocket to show everybody that he had money. And then he goes to me, you buy pan for my children? Yeah, okay. I'll buy you a pan for the children. But he wanted, they have to get something from you for nothing. For no good reason. They just feel that that's their job, to get something from you for free. Here in the Philippines, the culture in Vietnam is the exact opposite. If you give them some money for their services, they want to give you something to say thank you. Thank you for understanding that. Scott says, all those charges and barely got a thank you. At night, I would get, most people would just walk away with their gadgets without saying thank you. Most people, until I said to them, yo, come on back here. You're done? No more? Yes. Okay, you say thank you. I made them say thank you. I made them say thank you. I demanded that they say thank you. Otherwise, don't come back. And they learned how to say thank you. As if I am there, they own me somehow. They somehow control my life. No, you want to come back tomorrow? You say thank you. Say thank you. Now, say thank you. If you don't say thank you, don't come back. So I basically trained them to say thank you for something they should have said thank you for from the beginning. But here's the problem with the people in the Philippines. If they say thank you, then they are beholden to you, that you gave them something and they owe you something back. When Americans just, all they want to hear is thank you. They're not going to do anything for you. Nobody ever, of all the stuff I gave out free, not a single person on this block has ever offered assistance to me in any way, shape, or form. And no matter what I've been doing, no matter what work I've been doing, if I'm outside cutting, I cut down all the thorn bushes for one of the neighbors. Never has a single person ever said, I'll help you with that. Even though I cleaned up the whole street after Cyclone Odette with one of the other foreigner neighbors. We cleaned up the whole street. Nobody offered to help us. It's their community, and they don't even offer to help. Nobody has ever, and if I had not made them say thank you, they would come every day, charge 10 or 12 things, and walk away without saying hello. So it's a strange place, the Philippines. And if you hear the creep talking about how I think people should say thank you, I think people should say thank you. When you give them something, I think they should say thank you. The creep will make this into a large affair where he'll go to the Bureau of Immigration, the NBI, and the FBI, and the CIA, and all the authority. I think people should say thank you when you give them something. Go make that video clip, you little creep. He's probably on there blogging right now how I'm demanding that people say thank you. No, I'm telling you that when I gave out 34 days of free electric and charged thousands of gadgets, I think people should say thank you. That I went out and bought a generator, I bought the cables and the plugs to make 45 outlets. I think people should say thank you for that. I think that's the minimum that they should do. Not a single person in 34 days, not one person in 34 days, nobody, not a single person in 34 days even offered to bring me a bag of potato chips and a soda. And these were people that owned sari stores. Nobody offered me anything at all. Nobody even offered me pesos, even though they would have to go someplace else for 30 pesos per charge. Nobody offered me anything at all for 34 days. And the one person I asked, my neighbor, for 7 years I've known him, for a bag of potato chips, he said, give me 30 pesos. And I said, what I gave you electric for 30. Yes, but you are rich. You give me 30 pesos. Put the potato chips back on the counter, and I said, thank you. I don't want to pay 30 pesos for the potato chips. Never talked to him again except once. When he said, I miss you. I said, no, you don't miss me. You miss my pesos. And I walked away. And he just didn't say a word. Not a single person of thousands of gadgets ever offered me a soda, a glass of water, nothing, ever. Bag of potato chips, nothing, zero. Yet, if they had to get their gadget charged, they would have to get on a tricycle, pay 30 pesos to get to the 7-Eleven, 30 pesos back, and 30 pesos to charge their phone. 90 pesos it would cost them to charge one gadget. And I got nothing back for it in return. And I did it until the Cyclone Odette was over, and I will never do it again. The next time there was a blackout, I put the generator on, people would stop by. No free outlets. No outlets at all. Nobody got a charge. Nobody. No more charges for free. You want something, you got to give a little bit, you got to take a little bit. These people only take, they don't give. It's a completely different culture than in Vietnam. This is the truth. You don't like it? Go someplace else. Report me. Report me. Louis Pagan Ponce. It's a shame. Tribal mentality. Could a foreigner truly, really be accepted as one of their own? Probably not. Probably not. Because you are looked at as a walking ATM machine. You are a walking ATM machine. Anybody who thinks that they're going to come to the Philippines and not be viewed as a mark is wrong about that. You can become friends with people. Now, yesterday I showed you a 2-minute and 38-second video of these are my personal friends whose house I went to, Nanai's house, okay? These are all the people there own a tricycle or a motorcycle. All of them have known me for 7 years. All of them I have given as part of the community and their families food, rice, sauce, all of them. All of them. You saw I brought 2 bags of sauce over to Nanai for breakfast. For lunch, I gave her money so she could buy foods. Okay? All of these people I have given to, not one person of all of my friends who I call my friends, never have anybody that you'll ever see in any of my videos, even as friends, never have they given me one motorcycle ride for free, ever. Never. Never happened. Never gonna happen. It's part of the culture. Okay? I don't know why, but just the way it is. So you have to accept that when you live here. But if you think, am I accepted in the community as a friend? Yes. But if you think there's any kind of reciprocity between you giving and then getting something back in return, no, that's never going to happen. And when I go to the fiesta or when I go to somebody's house, I always bring twice. Nobody else gives anything to Nana. Nobody gives her money or foods. I always, if I go there twice during the day, I bring mucho more than what I receive, but we're friends. But that's just the way it is here. If I pay for 3 months in advance because they have a problem, I do that without any kind of compensation. If they say, Michael, we have a problem, can we get 2 or 3 months in advance? If I have the money available, I'll give it to them. Am I entitled to a discount? It's in my contract. If I pay in advance, I should get a 10% discount in my contract. Do I get it? No. Once they asked me for 3 months in advance, and I said, yeah, okay. And I gave it to them. And then the next day, I had to go to Poblacion, and the owner of the tricycle who I gave the money to, he said, you give me 30 pesos. I said, what about the money I gave you 3 months advance? Yes, thank you. 30 pesos. So I was entitled to 10% discount for 3 months for my rent at 13,000 pesos a month. So 39,000 pesos. I should have got 3,900 peso discount. And I waived the discount. I said, then the next day I needed a tricycle. He charged me 30 pesos. I paid him, of course. But don't ever expect anything for free from anybody in the Philippines. Different culture than Vietnam. That's all there is to it. Hey, Nomad, my trip was... I learned a lot about the culture of Vietnam and how nice the people are. And I learned a lot about the Vietnam War, but I would never go back. I got sick as a dog on my first flight out. I mean, deathly sick where I could barely walk off the plane. That part was not so good. I got stuck there. I had diagnosed positive for COVID, which extended my trip for 6 more days. Every person I dealt with at the counter of every airline and every personnel did not know their job. It was in some respects, it was an amazing experience. In some respects, it was a disaster. Louis Pagan Pond says, the Candyman is never appreciated until there is a sugar emergency. I gave out 20,000 pieces of candy. Easily. I used to buy 2 or 3 bags of candy, 420 count bags of candy a week sometimes. I gave everybody candy. I gave the conductors 5 pieces of candy, the drivers of the jeepney 5 pieces of candy. I gave everybody on every jeepney 2 pieces of candy. I gave everybody in every walk of life, wherever I met. If I saw somebody, I'd open up the bag and give everybody I met 2 pieces of candy. Everybody. Didn't matter, man, woman, or child. Everybody got 2 pieces of candy. Because they like candy, and to them that was a big deal. But everybody knew. There were still people that asked me for candy. I haven't given any candy out since It's a year and 8 months. No candy. No more free stuff. The first free stuff was the electric. After a year and 3 months, I gave out but I will never do it again. I wouldn't care if there was a cyclone and there was no electric and no water and people. I don't care. I will never give out free electric again. I will never even ask them for pesos for the electric. There is no more what we call pasalubong. No more free stuff for the locals. Zero. It ain't never going to happen. Because there's never been any reciprocity. Never have I ever had anybody work for me, ever. Because no one has ever offered to help me, no matter what I've given their family. There's people I've given 4, 5, 6 kilos of rice, 2 or 3 bags of sauce, 4 or 5 packs of cigarettes, 3 bottles of rum. And they never offered anything back in return. So we went off on a tangent there, but that's the difference between the people in Vietnam and the people in the Philippines. Yes, and flying circus, that's right. And someone actually stole a cord, one of the cords, on the 2nd or 3rd day until I taped it all together. Everything business in the Philippines says William. It is. Be William. It is. It's nothing personal. It's what you are rich, you give. We are poor, we take. But it doesn't matter. It's the mindset, the mentality of the people here is that they never will be beholden for you to even say thank you, because if they say thank you, they feel they owe you something. It's sad. It's no way to explain it. And it's systemic from every walk of life. It would have been cool if Michael would have gone native and formed the band of irregular vigilantes up near the Cambodian border like Colonel Kurtz. Oof. I remember that movie, Apocalypse Now. What are you making? Cabbage with eggs. Make some for me.
You want some?
Yeah, please.
How many eggs you want?
How many eggs? Not so much. Just 1 egg and some cabbage.
I'm gonna separate mine and cook because I put something salt and then
Okay, you cook yours, and then when you're done, you make something for me. Okay, thank you. Okay, so she put salt in her foods. I don't use the salt here. It makes my legs swell up, my ankles swell up. B. William, hustle for everything. That's true. What a great movie, Apocalypse Now, says Louis Pagenpounce. B. William, they get jealous because of your Western money. They do. But in the same respect, no matter what you give, there's no reciprocity ever. It's not reasonable. It's not fair. It's not mentally acceptable. In my mind, I don't understand. I've never asked anybody to work for me, ever. No one's ever worked for me for even 1 hour. Okay, I have to make one exception. About 5 months ago. It was sometime after Hurricane Odette. I needed to bring horses up to the top of a cargo container, and the horse was too heavy for me to pick up. So, one of the men who came every day with gadgets, and one of the men who I know for 7 years, he stopped and he saw me. I wasn't able to pick the horse up. I was picking it up with a rope. I wasn't able to do it. He goes, I will help you. I said, okay. He climbs up to the top of the container, up the ladder, and he gets up to the top of the container. He goes, you give me 20 pesos. So first of all, he said he was going to help me. This is a guy I gave electric to every day for 34 days. So he's going to help me. Help me means he's going to help me. So when he gets to the top of the ladder, he says to me, I will help you. But then he gets up to the top of the ladder. You give me 20 pesos. I said, okay. Now, to get the horse up to the roof It wasn't 1 minute's work. It wasn't a minute. So I gave him 20 pesos. I took pesos out of my pocket and I put 20 pesos in his hand. He goes, no, you give me 40 pesos. I said, but you said 20 pesos. I know, but you are rich. You give me 40 pesos. So I looked at him and I laughed and I said, there's your 20 pesos. Thank you very much. And I shook his hand and he walked away. But if he could have got 40, he would have got 40. He may as well have asked for 100. Who knows? Maybe I felt generous that day. That day I didn't feel so generous. He said he was going to help me. After all I did for the locals, after all I did for him, he was going to help me. That's the one time in 7 years, one person helped me for 1 minute, and he got 20 pesos for a minute's work. And when I handed him the 20 pesos, he goes, you give me 40. And I said, no. So that was in one time. One person helped me one time in 7 years. One person helped me one time in 7 years. It took a minute for him to make 20 pesos. And when I handed him the money, he said, you give me 40, doubled the price. And I said, no, you asked for 20, I gave you 20. He laughed and he got down the ladder, and we still say hello to each other, but he tried. They cannot understand why you just don't keep giving them shit for free. They don't understand why you just don't keep. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Another one. The woman I bought the tickets from, she did her job. She screwed me so bad. But she did her job. She didn't tell me I needed an entry visa to Vietnam. When I asked her, I said, do I need any kind of visa, anything to go to Vietnam? We don't know, sir. We don't have that knowledge, but you ask Bureau of Immigration. She should have known that you need an entry visa. So the first day I only had about 40,000 pesos on me, but I needed money for something else because I just went to the ATM and I withdrew my 20,000 pesos, which is the maximum for the day. I withdrew that. So when I went to Alona Beach to the travel agent, I gave her 30,000 peso deposit for the tickets. I says, I'll be back tomorrow, which I owed another 14,000 pesos. She said, then you bring me pasalubong. Why? You just did your job. She wants free stuff because she did her job. She works in an air-conditioned office. She makes a commission on the tickets, and she still wanted a chocolate cake that was about 300 pesos. So I said, I'll tell you what, if I go to Vietnam and come back and have no problems, I'll bring you back that chocolate cake. She knew exactly what cake from the bakery across the street that she wanted. It was about 300 pesos. I know it was what was the name? Strawberry velvet, that cake that you had? Strawberry velvet? What?
Red velvet.
Red velvet. It was a red velvet cake. They sell them for about 300 pesos. So I had nothing but problems. I'm not going to. So I went back the second day and I gave her the other 14,000, whatever, 400 pesos, whatever it was. And she said, did you bring pasalubong? I said, why would I bring pasalubong? She goes, you give. But why would I do that? I said, if I go to Vietnam and have no problems with your tickets, I will bring you pasalubong. Next time I come back, I will bring you your red velvet cake. No, you give now. No, I'll give you when I come back from Vietnam. Well, I had nothing but problems, so I'm not going to buy her anything. But her mentality, the mentality of the people here, is that you should give them stuff for free. It's just the way it is here. It's the culture. Okay, so let's go on. The creep thanks Jimmy every night. For the B. William, they get jealous because of your Western money. That's true. Louis Pagan Ponce. The creep thanks Jimmy every night. That's probably true, because it's probably true. So if someone like the creep can say thank you on a nightly basis, then most certainly so can the locals on a nightly basis. That was a little hidden innuendo there for sure, Louis. A nightly basis. Thank you very much. You might have to record the creep's thank you sessions with Jimmy so the locals can learn something. That's probably true as well. Plunk. Thank you, Jimmy, for allowing me to stay in your house and eat your food. Thank you for not allowing me to go to jail. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much. And that's the way it should be, because Jimmy is the one deciding factor that can change his life in a minute. Jimmy can ruin his existence in a matter of about an hour and a half. His existence in the Philippines would be no more without the gracious, host-like personality of Jimmy, whoever Jimmy is. Jimmy says, thank you for the house, says Flying Circus. Hey, Simulacron, I want you to know, I thank you. I thank you. Simulacron, Jimmy is just waiting for Prunk to finish the renovations before he boots him out. I don't think that's going to happen. I think those Christmas presents balance it all out at the end of the day, Sim. And according to Warren H., there are Christmas presents and other presents that are given on a regular basis to Jimmy. Whoever Jimmy is, Jimmy seems to be satiated with the gifts. We'll call it the gifts. Plunk, thank you, Jimmy, for allowing me to spend all this money on your family. You truly are an angel, Jim. What would I do without your generosity, Jimmy? That guy is living on borrowed time. That's for sure. Flying Circus says, half USA wants something for nothing. They deserve it if you ask why. They deserve it. Yeah, you talk about welfare. I mean, you have a guy that's on welfare for 23 years, and he thinks that another person who collects Super Chat is a beggar. Yet, his best buddy, the man who he stands behind 100%, that guy can beg for beer, coffee money, food money, thousands of dollars in e-begging. He stands behind him, but if anybody gives somebody like the great Barry Jordan $10, he cries like a little girl. That's true. You could have called Plunk the Horse Whisperer. I don't know what that means, the Horse Whisperer. I remember there was a movie like that, the Horse Whisperer. I don't think that was the name of the movie, though. I think Lewis is making this shit up as he goes along. Now, getting back. So now I'm in Vietnam for the 6 days. And I go back to get my PCR test. Back to the PCR test.
Like how?
What, honey?
Just use the egg and the cabbage, no meat.
What, honey?
No meat, only the egg and the cabbage.
Yes, please. Thank you. So, I get back, now I get the PCR test, and I pass the PCR test. I passed that. And the two guys, they give me the thumbs up and they're smiling. We're all happy because I passed the PCR test. So now I go back upstairs, and the ticket that expired that she sold me 6 days ago, she tells me, sir, we'll give you half the value of the ticket, 3.7 million dong, because Cebu Pacific has no office at the airport in Vietnam. So I lost the Cebu Pacific ticket because they didn't have an office to compensate me for the... You okay?
Yeah, it's just the electric shock.
Okay. They didn't have an office, Cebu Pacific office in Saigon Airport. So otherwise they would have gave me a free ticket. But I had to buy a ticket. And now that the ticket expired because I failed my PCR test and I had to be there for 6 days, she says, sir, you just give me half the value of the ticket. And then you get on the plane. There's no other problem, sir. You give me 3,710,000 dong, and we'll give you an updated ticket. So it was $175 I lost on the ticket, plus $200 on the Cebu Pacific ticket. So that's $475, by the way. 200 plus I paid $350. That's $550. Plus another $175, $650, $725 extra for tickets to get back from Vietnam. So I go and get the dong. I get she needed 3.7 million dong. I ordered 5 million dong. I figured 1 million dong would be enough dong to get out of Vietnam. So I give her the money. She gives me the new ticket. I now have the past PCR test. And now I go.
Want some mayonnaise and ketchup? Halang? Mayonnaise.
Halang gamay. Salamat. I go to the ticket office, to the counter. That's the afternoon now. And I go to the counter, and the lady at the counter says, okay, so do you have your exit visa? The plane is going to leave shortly. You know, it's going to be a few hours away where I'm leaving. It's maybe it's 4 o'clock now in the afternoon, and my plane is going to leave. I forgot what time that plane left. Midnight, I think I get on the plane. Thanks, honey.
No mayonnaise?
No, thank you. So I said to her, I'm ready to, I go on, yes, you can go on the plane, but I go to the ticket office and I give them the ticket. Now I go to the ticket agent to get my boarding pass. Very nice. Thank you, Daisy. And the ticket agent says, do you have your exit visa? I said, no, I don't have an exit visa. Sir, you have to have an exit visa. I said, well, I have an entry exit visa. No, sir, you need an exit visa. Now, how do I get that? She opens up a website, Vietnamese exit visa clearance, $25, 3 to 15 days waiting time. I just bought a ticket after she said I don't need anything else. For the second time, the same woman told me the same nonsense. So I said to the lady, wait a minute. Thanks, honey. Give me cold water, please. I have an entry exit visa. No, sir. You need an exit visa. Thank you. So I said, no, I don't need an exit visa. I just need this entry exit visa. And I showed it to her. It's a piece of paper. I'm not going to show it to you because it has my full details on it. And I give it to her. And she said, sir, this is an entry visa. Yes, it's an entry visa, but there it says entry exit visa. In the small print. No, sir, this is not acceptable. You're going to have to get an exit visa. So would you please get a supervisor? Because supervisors have a way of figuring this stuff out. So she got a supervisor, a woman, who said, well, she didn't know. So she got the supervisor, the head guy, the man in charge, the in charge man. And he comes over and listens to my words about how this is an entry-exit visa. And he took that and read it. He agreed that it was an entry-exit visa and it was okay. But had I not got the supervisor, I would not have been able to leave Vietnam. Again, for the third time. Once I failed the test, this time, and the time I missed my flight 3 times. I paid $725 for a return ticket from Vietnam that I only got one $200 flight out of. So when the supervisor okayed it, she was like dumbfounded. You know, she was like, well, oh, you know, they don't know their job. You need to understand that now it's 4 times, once I got a supervisor, 4 times they allowed me to get on the flight. So now she has to accept my entry-exit visa to leave Vietnam. She has to do that. So she does, and she fills out the paperwork. And she said, "Sir, do you have an onward flight?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "May I see it?" So you have, I'm going to tell you something. You people that buy those 48-hour onward flights, had I bought one of those, I would still be in Vietnam today. They don't accept them in Vietnam. They don't accept 48-hour onward flights. You have to have a physical flight itinerary, a real flight, from a real airline. So I said, "Yes, I have an onward flight. May I see it?" So I give her the Cebu Pacific flight. So this expired, 2 days ago. Because my onward flight, you only just have to have an onward flight to go back to Manila. Doesn't have to be that day. It could be a week or a month later, but mine expired. She goes, "This is no good. It's now like 5 o'clock. And I says, "Well, what do I have to do?" She goes, "Well, you'll have to call up Cebu Pacific for them to send you a new ticket." I said, "I won't be able to do that till tomorrow." "Yes, sir. You just buy another ticket tomorrow." I said, "Well, why can't I buy a ticket from you now?" And then she told me it'd be like $350 for another onward flight ticket to buy it right then and there. And so I said, "Can you get that guy back here?" And he looked at my onward flight and he saw that it expired and he said, "Let me see that." And he did something and it was good. I don't know what he did. But you people have no idea what I went through. No idea. $725 for a ticket that originally I paid $200 for. Eventually it cost me an extra $525 in another ticket and then half of the price of another ticket. And they still weren't going to let me leave. But now they're going to let me leave. And I go at 12 o'clock at night, I go to the customs. I go through customs. I'm still sick as a dog, by the way. I go through customs, and the guy at the customs says, "Do you have your One Health Pass?" "Well, yeah." "Can I see it?" So I had that. You need something called the One Health Pass. There are so many things that you need that you don't know that you need. So if I had not filled out that paperwork, that took like 2 hours to fill out the One Health Pass. I would not have been able to leave Vietnam again and buy another ticket. But each time I said to the ticket agent, do I need anything else? No, sir, this is it. These people have no understanding of the job that they were paid to do, that they perform. No understanding at all. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight for now. Tomorrow, I'll go through this really quick. Although, okay, let's just say I get on the plane. And I get to Manila, and I go through customs and immigration, and the woman in Manila, when I'm going to go to get my flight to Panglao, says, "Can we see your Traze Pass?" TRAZE, Traze Pass, which I talked about in the beginning. And I showed it to her, and the information had disappeared again. She's not going to let me on the flight. She goes, "This Trace Pass is no good. It doesn't show up your information." I says, "Yeah, but they have a problem with the system." "Yes, sir, but we cannot let you on the plane unless the..." So I had another supervisor bypass the Trace Pass. Again. So it's the Philippines computer system that keeps deleting the information for the Trace Pass. It's not me. They see me put the information in, they input the information, they get the captcha. The captcha shows it's me, that this pass has passed, but not who passed the test for the vaccination and so on and so forth. The whole thing is a nightmare. I don't know how they get anything done. And I was not the only person at the airport that had these problems. I'm just telling you what my problem was. There were many people in the airport that weren't allowed to get on their flights because of a mix-up of something that they didn't have, that they didn't know they needed, because the ticket agent did not tell them they needed. Now, some countries, if you're a citizen of the Philippines, you don't need an entry-exit visa. But if you're not a citizen, you buy the ticket, then you need one. That's why I got stuck in Manila for 3 days waiting for my visa. But the ticket agent did not tell me I needed an entry-exit visa. Daisy and I went to the immigration office to fill out my final motion of consideration paperwork, and I asked all the people in the office, 5 people, 7 altogether, from the 2 previously the week before. Everybody said you don't need an entry-exit visa to Vietnam. Long time ago, but no longer. Everybody said the same thing, word for word. Long time ago, but no longer. And I needed that. So that cost me an additional $725, $525 for tickets, and 7 days or 8 days in hotel expenses, and plus foods. So this whole thing is a nightmare. That no one in the immigration office knows that you need an entry-exit visa. Of the 7 people that help you get your motion of consideration, and no one knows any of the real facts what you need. I don't know how to tell you people this, but you should read what you need in my community post. You need an entry-exit visa from the Philippines that you have to apply for 2 or 3 weeks before you leave, and you pay $25. You need to have a Traze Pass, TRAZE pass. You need to have your 2 vaccinations plus a booster if you don't want to take the PCR test. None of this do they tell you before you leave. None of this that I know. Nobody ever told me I was going to have to take a PCR test. They told me no longer do you need a PCR test. But when I went to get on the plane, after I bought the $350 ticket, that's when they told me I needed a PCR test. But The problem was I'm standing there at the window. Ma'am, do I have to do anything? If I buy this ticket now, all I have to do is just bring the ticket and get my boarding pass? Yes, sir. I gave this woman $350, 7,400,000 dong, whatever it was, 7,700,000 dong. I gave her her dong. I handed her the dong. She printed out the ticket. I go to walk away. She goes, "Did you get your PCR test?" I said, "No, you didn't." Oh, "Yes, sir, you need a PCR test." And I failed it. And therefore, that cost me, in and of itself, $350 for the ticket and $175 for the second ticket. And 6 days, well, I got quarantined for 6 days. That had nothing to do with her. But that was $350 and $175. That's $450. That's $525 she cost me because she didn't tell me I needed the PCR test. And I was sick. So legitimately, I was sick. Had she told me to get the PCR test first, I would have went down there, got the PCR test, tested positive for being sick, and then I wouldn't have bought the ticket. I would have saved $525. But these people don't care about you. They only care about selling the ticket. As soon as I gave her the money, she gave me the ticket, I walk away, she says, "Oh, you need a PCR test." I said, "Didn't I just ask you if there was anything else?" "Yes, sir, you need a PCR test." So she knew I needed one. She didn't know I was sick. She didn't know I was going to fail it. But that's not the point. I asked her if there was anything else that I needed, and she said no. I bought the ticket. She cost me $525. This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. I'll write it all down. Well, just copy it from my community page, what you need. Because I don't know that I want to do this again. I was going to go through each and every detail, but I'm not going to do that. Would have been easier to do a visa run to Thailand. Yeah, it would have been, but I wanted to go to the Vietnam War Weapons Museum, and that's not in Thailand. I wanted to learn a little bit about the culture of Vietnam. It would have been easier to go anywhere. It would have been easier and almost cheaper to go to the United States. Had I known this was going to happen, and all the additional expenses and time, had I not got sick, this would have been a piece of cake. But if I knew I got on a plane perfectly healthy. 3.5 hours later, I got off the plane deathly ill. That was the first cause and effect of this chain of events. I was literally near death, sick. I got on the plane healthy, and 3.5 hours later, I got off the plane sweating bullets. The sweat was just pouring off my forehead. I had no breath. I couldn't walk 150 feet. I was exhausted. Whatever I caught on that airplane, the next day caused me to fail the PCR test, which caused all these other problems. Had I not failed the PCR test, I would have got on the next flight and I would have been home. The other problems would have sorted themselves out along the way. Had I known this, for the additional $525 for airfare, plus another $400 in expenses, another $900, I could have went to America. I could have bought the ticket 6 months ago for America and got back and forth to America. This was supposed to have cost me $840 for tickets. Agreed. 2 tickets to Vietnam, 2 tickets back, and a throwaway ticket, $840. And 4 days of hotel in Vietnam, $100 for 4 days. It would have cost me just under $1,000. As it was, it cost me close to about $1,700. And that's what it was. That's just part of life, But I was legitimately sick. I couldn't argue with the guy who failed me at the PCR test. He didn't fail me. I failed. So that caused. But then again, when you look at the grand scheme of things, had I been back in the Philippines, then the greatest vlog that ever occurred in the Philippine genre, that occurred on August 26th, Friday night, at 6 o'clock, occurred. The greatest vlog that ever occurred in the Philippine genre. The one that woke everybody up to reality. The vlog that will go down in infamy. Had I not had all of these problems, karmic law of cause and effect would have meant that I would have been home for my court date on the 24th. And everybody that had to be in court that day would have been in the Philippines on the 24th. But I notified my lawyer on the 20th that I failed the PCR test in an email. I think it was a Sunday night. Let me take a look. I think it was a Sunday, and he actually called me back and after I notified him, and he said, it's no problem, we'll just change the date. And he was kind enough to tell everybody involved that the date had to be changed. And because the date was changed, the law of cause and effect caused a person that should have been in the Philippines to go to Thailand to create the greatest vlog, 6-hour vlog that ever existed. A vlog that will go down in infamy. The 20th was a Saturday. I notified my lawyer Saturday afternoon that I had failed the PCR test. And he probably notified the defendant's lawyer, and the defendant's lawyer notified him, and therefore he was now on track to create the greatest YouTube vlog in the history of the genre of the Philippines and Thailand. A blog that will live in infamy forever. A blog that made some of a particular vlogger's most ardent subscribers and followers flock say things like, after looking at this vlog, Fazio was once again an alpha male. And these are some of the people that loved a certain vlogger's content up until the 26th of August at about 10 o'clock at night. Their opinion changed. And the people that, there's one particular little guy, little follower, not a big follower. I stand behind everything this man stands for. Really? So he knows who it is. He will have a field day with this video. Fazio hates the Philippines. I like the Philippines. You just got to get used to the people here. Fazio should move out of the Philippines. Fazio's a hater. See this? You lied. You put down information that's not right. And you know who you are. So, had I not got sick, the law of cause and effect would have put everybody in a different country or place in time. And the greatest vlog in the history of the Philippines / Thailand genre would not have happened. Blame it on Michael Fazio. Blame it on me. I don't care. Yes. Okay. Yes, that's true. But when I asked them if I needed anything else to go to Vietnam and back, they said, no longer. What they meant was, if you're a Philippine citizen, no longer. You're right about that, Scott. But they know I'm not a Philippine citizen, so they gave me bad information. That's true. Nightwear, or maybe a daymare, or maybe the law of cause and effect caused people to see a side of the Philippines / Thailand genre that would have never been seen before. That would have been hidden forever. Even though people had beliefs of certain vloggers feeling a certain way about certain things, none of it would have happened had I not got sick. So thank you, Jesus. Thanks for making me sick on that airplane. Thanks for making me so sick I could barely walk. Thank you, Jesus, for making me so sick that I failed my PCR test. Thank you, Jesus, for making me miss my court date. Thank you, Jesus, for letting one of the greatest vlogs in the history of the Philippines, Thailand genre take place Friday night, August 26th, and showing the world how you could be mistaken about certain things. And that's the truth. So with that, I'm going to actually say goodbye. I'm going to finish my lunch. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate the kind thoughts, and to my detractors out there, I want to say something. On that vlog, the greatest vlog in the history of the YouTube Philippines, Thailand vlog, the greatest upload live stream that ever occurred in the history of Philippines, and on that vlog, on that live stream, some of my biggest detractors, and I won't mention their names, were saying, Fazio's going to have a field day with this. Wait till Fazio sees this. Fazio is now, once again, the alpha male of YouTube. And what does alpha male really mean? It just means somebody that takes charge of a situation. Doesn't mean you're the toughest man in the world. It doesn't mean that you're the richest man in the world. It just means that when it comes time for leadership, you take charge. So when you listen to the little guy, the little man, when you listen to him, when you really listen to him, you know there's something wrong up here in that guy's head. The hate, the angst, the hatred, the constant hate. Now he's hating on Tim K. Now he's hating on Tim K's sister-in-law. Then he'll go back to Big Kevin. Then he'll go to Gary. There is nothing positive that he has ever put out, ever. Nothing. Nothing. He's never done a vlog about the Philippines of any value. And when he does something that he thinks is of value, it's ad-libbed, and he's wrong about half of what he talks about. He's not capable. He's not even capable of organizing a kitchen cabinet. The foods, to put the foods away, or medicine cabinet. He's not capable of any complex thought processes. And yet he's an expert on everything. And now that he stands behind 100%, that says a lot. If you stand behind somebody 100%, that means that 100% of the time you're on that man's side, no matter what that man does. That says a lot. It says a lot. It says a lot. Is somebody else? Has somebody else turned a corner, so to speak? Quite possible. It's quite possible that somebody else has finally come out and told the truth. I stand behind that man 100%. Birds of a feather flock together. And this is Michael Fazio in the Philippines, baby, saying, Amping Permi, and remember, the double squeeze. If you don't know what a double squeeze is, it says a lot about a person. And I think there's a couple of vloggers out there that when you shake their hand, they're going to give you a double squeeze. A couple of YouTube vloggers. They call it the double shaky. If you don't know what a double shaky is, and you don't know anything about reality, Himmler. I'll leave this off with a quote from Himmler, who was Adolf Hitler's autobiographer. Himmler said that 250 men could walk into a ballroom with their wives and girlfriends, and within 4 hours, every gay man in that entire ballroom will know who every other gay man is, without a word being said. There are secret hand signs that they have between one another. This is Himmler was Adolf Hitler's biographer. I think it was Himmler. He said that in 4 hours, 250 men walk into a ballroom with their wives or girlfriends, and at the end of 4 hours, every man in that ballroom will know who every other gay man is. That's true. There is some sort of, just like Masons have a secret handshake, there's a secret word, body motion, or handshake where every gay man or bisexual man or ladyboy, or secret ladyboy, they all have some sort of secret way to advertise that they are of a different persuasion, all of them. And that's what I think the common denominator is between certain bloggers, that we can't prove it and we can't show it to you because it's secret. I don't know what that is. I do know there's something called the double squeeze. When you shake somebody's hand, that means that they have a certain sexual persuasion, the double squeeze. But there are other methods as well. I stand behind Jay Leno, says Louis Pagan Pounce. Secret junk grab gives it away, as does French kissing the other party. The secret junk grab? You think? You think that gives it away? As does French trying to pull somebody's tonsils out with your tongue. You think that might be a Hintergedanke? Hintergedanke means a thought in the back of your mind in German. It's like just a thought. A Hintergedanke is the double squeeze. And with that, I got to go. I got things that I want to do this afternoon. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. Feel free to subscribe, like, and share my videos, because I am the only person on YouTube that will tell you what it's actually like living in the Philippines. And I have explained to you in great detail what it's like to live in the Philippines in this video. Now, I still like it here. That's not the point. The point is it takes years. Now, if I was to have this conversation with a foreigner, they wouldn't think anything of it. They would just say, welcome to the Philippines. They all know it already. Some people learn it in a year. Some people take 5 years. Some people just don't get it and they move back to the United States or wherever they came from. You just have to learn to accept that the people here have a mindset that you give, I take. You give, I take. That's the way it is here. And as long as you understand that, as long as you're giving, they're taking, and you have to understand that's the way it is here. It's not complicated. But you don't have to give. To just give if you want to give. And they have an expression for that. You give from the heart. Which means no matter how much you give, no matter how often you gave, you gave. They don't expect anything in return. That's the way it is here in the Philippines. I'm Pink Permy from Michael Fazio and Daisy May. Oh, yeah. Daisy May. Didn't I hear somebody say that Daisy May hated me and she'd never come back? Didn't I hear that? And didn't I hear someone say I'd eat crow if Fazio would leave the Philippines and was able to leave the Philippines? Didn't I hear someone say I'll eat crow if Fazio gets a motion of consideration? Didn't I hear I'll eat crow if Fazio gets back into the Philippines? I don't see anybody going out and eating crow. I don't see it. Although I heard them say that they would do that, they didn't. They backed away from what their promise was, which is typical. Everybody that said that I will eat crow if Fazio gets out of the Philippines and back in the Philippines, that is not eating crow, therefore is a liar. A liar. Liar, liar, pants on fire. And when I asked a particular person or persons, how come you're not apologizing for your statement, saying that I would never be able to get out of the Philippines and get back? How come you're not eating crow? Silence. Because everything is part of a law of cause and effect. And the crow that he was going to eat, he changed the goalposts. It's easy to do that when you're a liar. A liar, liar, pants on fire. I'm Pink Permy from the Philippines, baby. That's right. From Raboy, Jew Barker in the Philippines, baby. Crow. Crow. Say goodbye, honey.
Bye.
She said goodbye. See you guys later. Wait till my next live stream. Yeah, baby. I'm Pink Permy, which means take care always.